Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's lecture, we are diving into an essential concept in programming, which is scope of variables. Whether you are a beginner or looking to brush up, this concept is crucial for writing efficient code. So let's get started. So, what is scope of variables? All variables in a program may not be accessible at all locations in that program. So, the parts of the program within which the variable name is legal and accessible is called the scope of the variable. A variable will only be visible to and accessible by the code block in its scope. There are broadly two kinds of scope in Python. One is global scope and second one is local scope. So the global scope may declare in the top level segment, which is the main segment of a program, is said to have a global scope and is usable inside the whole program, which can be accessed from anywhere in the program. So in Python, a variable declared outside a function is known as a global variable. This means that a global variable can be accessed from inside or outside of the function. So creating a global variable can be considered with an example. So let's take an example of global variable. Let me define that for you. Global variable. So in global variable, if I say that x equals to, let's say x equals to global variable, and I say the function def equals to foo function, which says print value of x, value of x with semicolon and space comma x. And I would say that let's get back to the function foo. Now let's print the function and let's see what we get in the terminal. So once I run the code, I get that here we created a global variable which is x equals to global variable. Then we created a function foo to print the value of the global variable from inside this function. So we get the output as global variable. Now, thus we can conclude that we can access a global variable from inside any function. But what if you want to change the value of a global variable from inside a function? So if you want to change the function, and so let's do it if we change the value from outside the inside the function. So let's say I will say let's set x equals to a global variable and the function is foo, and we say that x plus equals to 1, and now I say that print value of x and the function remains foo. So now let's see what we get. Let's run the terminal, and here we get an in this code block we try to update the value of a global variable x. We get an output as unbounded local error, cannot access local variable x where it is not associated with a value. So this happens because when the command x equals to x minus 1 is interpreted, where Python treats this x as a local variable and we have not defined any local variable x inside the function foo. So this is how that we cannot access any local variable inside the function if you don't define the function. So now let's get to the another variable, and the another variable we have is a local scope. So what is local scope? So variables that are defined inside a function body have a local scope. This means that local variables can be accessed only inside the function in which they are declared. So creating a local variable, we declare a local variable inside a function, and consider the given function definition. I hope you get a clear picture for that. Let's say def foo and say y is a local variable equals to, I'll say local vary. Now if I say that print y, and let's give the function foo. Now let's run the terminal. So once I run the code, I get the answer as local variable. So now we get the output, but if we access a local variable outside the scope. So if I say that, let's say that let's access a local variable outside the function. So if I, for that, if I say that y equals to, let me change here itself, let's say y equals to local and foo. Now let's access it from the outside the function, and now I say print y. And now let's see. So in the above code, we declared a local variable y inside the function, where you can see it's y equals to local. But, and then we try to access it from outside the function. So when we try to access the code outside the function, variable outside the function, then we get an output as name error, where it says name error, name y is not defined. We get an error because the lifetime of a local variable is the function it is defined in. Outside the function, the variable does not exist and that cannot be accessed. In other words, a variable can be accessed outside its scope. So with that, we have a problem statement that I would like to share with you all, that say, if we say that what defining a function, and let's see what we get the output. So once I give you the problem statement, let's say that define function a, I would say a. So a is a function, and I say a equals to a plus 10, and then I say return a. Whereas I also say that it's a driver code, so I'll be putting, for your clarity, driver's code, that a equals to 5 and function a and print a. So now let's clear the terminal. Oh, and now let's run the code. So once I run the code, I get the answer as 5. So in the above code, the variable inside a function will act as a local variable. So the change in the local variable would not affect the global variable. So let's work on another problem statement. So my another problem statement for you guys will be, let's say, defining a square where, and I'd say answer equals to a into a, which is a square. So return answer. Sorry, a into a, and I will say that return answer. And here I also give one other driver's code, that will be mm, driver's code, and the driver's code is a equals to 4 and a equals to square. And now I say print square of a, and the output should be, let's see what we get in the terminal. So we get the square of 16 is 16, where the square of a is a. So its a value is 16. So 4 का square क्या होता है 16. So in the above code, the function square will return the value of answer as 16 and storing the value of answer into a global a. Now let's see. Now, here comes the another topic of the variables, that is passing variables length arguments. In Python, a variable number of arguments can be passed to a function using special symbol. There are two types of symbols which are used in Python for passing arguments. One is arg, which is known for a non-keyword argument, and second one is quargs, which is also known for the keywords argument. Where first, if we talk about the args, so what is args? So here the special syntax arg in function definition is used to pass a variable number of arguments to a function. It is used to pass a non-keyworded variable length argument list, where args allows us to take in more arguments than the number of formal arguments. For example, if you want to make an addition function that supports taking any number of arguments, then we would be able to add them all together. In this case, we can use args. For example, if I say that define sum which is of sum, and I say args where semicolon, and I say where sm equals to 0. Now for I in a, I in args, okay, where sm plus equals to I, and now I say that what I say print what print, and I say print sm. Now if I give an answer where sum should be of, let's say, 2 comma 3 comma 4 and 5. Now let's run this code. So while running this code, we get the answer as 14. So in the above code syntax, we use the function argument function, which is a non-keyworded variable length argument, which is used to pass the variable numbers of arguments to the function. So this is how the args is used, where I use the code snippet to sum all these four values, and we get the answer as 14. So now the another one is quarks. So the quarks is the special syntax which in function definition is used for passing a keyword which is of variable length and argument list. We use double star here as it allows us to pass through. So let me write it again for you. I say hashtag KWAR GS quarks. So this is the argument which we use, a keyword argument where we provide a name to a variable as we pass it into the function. The quark is also similar to a dictionary where each keyword is mapped to a value which we pass along with it. So that is why on iterating over the content of quarks, the element do not seem to be stored in any specific order. So for example, if I say, let's say define function and double star quarks KWAR GS quarks, okay, we are not taking right now arguments, we say quarks and semicolon, and now I say for key value quarks dot items semicolon, where I say print and key values, so key comma value. Now I say give the full name where fun and comma equals to, I say Ajay where roll equals to 101. Now let's see the output of the code. So once I run the code, I get the answer as name is Ajay and roll equals to 101. So this is how the quark argument is passed, which is used to define the function, which also similar to a dictionary where each keyword is mapped to a value which we pass along with it. So this is how we use the quark function in the variable length argument. Now we go with another problem statement to make it more clear to you all. Let's say defining a function, I'd say define find sum a comma b, where return a plus b, and I say that z equals to find sum which is of 2 comma 3 comma 4, and now let's run the code. So here you get the error. So in this error you get that find sum takes two position or positional arguments, but three were given. So in the other code, while we calling the function, we are passing three parameters, but in find sum function only two parameters are there. So there is a type error function which is of taking two position arguments but three were given. So let's take another example where I say that define def find sum, and I must check this time an argument args, which will be using as where semicolon, where I say sm equals to 1 and for I in args, which is defining the function where sm is equals to I, and I must say return sm. Now let's say that the diverse function z equals to find sum, and in bracket I give 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5, and now I must say that print z. Let's run the code. So here we get the above passing value with length argument, and the parameter is defined as arg. So it will store all the values and act as a tuple. So we get the output as 120 in the terminal. So let's go with another problem statement, which is Python default parameters. So in other topic we will be discussing about what are the Python default parameters. So the parameters can have default values in Python. We can provide a default value to a parameter by using the assignment operator equal to. With here is an example in which I'll be showing you how does it work. So let me copy instead of writing it. Let's say it comes here. So now let me run the code, and here we get hello Rita, happy birthday, hello Hardika, happy new year. So in the above function, the parameter person does not have a default value and must be passed mandatory during a call. On the other hand, the parameter greet has a default value of happy birthday where it was written as there. So it is optional during a call. If an argument is passed corresponding to the parameter, it will override the default value. Otherwise, it will use the default value. So the important point to keep in mind while using the default parameters are that any number of parameter in a function can have a default value. The conventional syntax for using default parameter states that once we have passed a default parameter, all the parameters to its right must also have default values. In other words, no default parameter cannot follow default parameters. For example, if I say that def greet, we just greet a function, and I say wish, where wish should be equals to as a happy birthday, where name, and let's get out of the function, and here I'll be giving the syntax. So now let's print function, and here we get the syntax error which shows that parameter without a function have a default value unless all parameters to their right have the default values. So to get out of this statement, so we can get the error. So now let's check another problem statement to make it more clear to you. Let's define a function where a comma b equals to 0 and print a plus b, and let's define the function. The bracket is 2, and now run the code. So here when we run the code we get the answer as 2. So while calling the function we are passing only one value, and the default value of b is 0. So there is no error in the program, and the value of b will not be treated as 0. So to clear it more, I will use another problem statement, then that is, let's say let's define function n, and n equals to 5, where return n, and I say that n equals to 10, where function n and print n. So now let's run the code. Let me clear it first for you, and now let's run the code. So once I run the code, I get the answer as 10. So in the above code, the scope of variable came into the picture, and in the fun function, variable n act as a global variable, and the change in local variable would not affect into a global variable. So for another problem statement, I will giving you as the above code for the function to return the value of n. So now let's take another function, that is, let's say let define a function which, okay man, and I say that print hello, and now let's return, say in return print, and I'll say world. Now let's say function, and now let's run the code. So once you run the code, you get the answer as hello. So in the above code, after printing the hello, we are using a return statement that returns the control from out of the loop. So once the function returns statement and to the control from out of the loop, it will again print hello, and it will always print again and again hello. So the recap of this importance of understanding variable scope. So I would say that go and practice much more questions on variables and scope. And if you have any challenge faced with variable scope, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more programming tips. Thank you. Bye bye.